Hey everybody, welcome back to another business analysis video. I'm always so excited to share new topics. In the last video, we discussed the Agile Scrum roles, the Agile Scrum team, right? The roles within an Agile Scrum team. In today's video, we're going to explore the Agile Scrum ceremonies, the events, the key events that take place during a Scrum cycle. Let's dive in. So in Agile methodologies, especially in Scrum, the ceremonies refer to events, the meetings that are regularly held throughout the project, throughout an Agile project. And these ceremonies, aka meetings, they're very essential in Agile process because they help to keep the team aligned, right? They help to promote communication. They help to ensure that the project is progressing in the way that adds the most value for the project delivery, for the product that we are delivering as a team. Teamwork is very, very important within an Agile Scrum methodology. So this is why these ceremonies are very, very crucial, a very, very crucial part in Scrum. So there are four main Agile ceremonies or events that structure each sprint. And these are the sprint planning, the daily scrum, the sprint review, and the sprint retrospective. I'm going to explain each of these meetings and events within the Scrum environment. So let's start with the sprint planning. When you think of a plan, right? A planning meeting. We are planning what will go into our next sprint. By sprint, I think I've explained this in another video. Sprint is just what we are delivering in a set time. So in the sprint planning meeting, this is where the team will meet to plan the work to be done in the upcoming sprint, the future sprint. And what happens here is that the product owner will present the highest priority items from the product backlog. In the next video, I'll be explaining what these artifacts are, the product backlog and all the other details, all the other artifacts, aka documents or deliverables within the Agile environment, so that you kind of make sense of what I'm referring to when I'm talking about them. So anyway, in the sprint planning meeting, this is what we do. The product owner, we explained the roles in Agile in the last video. So the product owner is the one who prioritizes the product backlog, right? So from this prioritized list of requirements, our user stories and things that we want to deliver for the project, we will select what we want to deliver in the next sprint. A sprint could be 2 to 4 weeks, depending on what the product is that they're delivering. So what the product owner will do here is present that highest priority list of items from that product backlog. The business analyst can also do this. And then the team will discuss how much time, how much of this prioritized list they can commit to, and how the work will be done in the next sprint. So like I said, one sprint can take 2 to 4 weeks, depending on what we are delivering, depending on what we are moving onto that sprint for the next delivery. But generally, this sprint planning meeting, again, for example, if it's a 2-week sprint, it could take 2 to 4 hours. So multiply that if you're doing your sprints in 4 weeks, right? So the typical schedule for a sprint planning meeting is 2 to 4 hours for a 2-week sprint. I hope that makes sense. So the Scrum Guide generally suggests a rule of thumb that sprint planning should last a maximum of 8 hours for a 4-week sprint, a 1-month sprint. So that means for a 2-week sprint, we can plan the sprint for 2 to 4 hours, like I said originally. What day exactly do we do this sprint planning meeting? The specific day of the week, it depends on the team's preferred schedule and how they've structured their sprints for the delivery of that product. But typically, if the sprint cycle starts on a Monday, if we want to start the work for our 2-week sprint on a Monday, it's best to do that sprint planning meeting on the same Monday, maybe in the morning, because it would then mark the beginning of the sprint. And this approach is generally favored because it allows the team to plan based on the most recent state of the project and the priorities. However, some teams tend to, well, in my experience, I've I've experienced where the team do their sprint planning on the Friday before we go home, and then on Monday the work starts. That's not really the favored approach. And this is because there's a risk that the project circumstances or the priorities of the project, it could change over the weekend. And then it will make that sprint planning that we've done on the Friday less accurate. So it's usually best to do that sprint planning on the day that you want to start your sprint. Okay, so that's it for sprint planning meeting. The next ceremony or event within the Scrum environment is the daily Scrum, aka the stand-up meetings. It really is a short meeting, maybe 15 minutes, where the team will synchronize their work and plan what they'll be doing for the next 24 hours. And then there are 3 questions to be answered during this daily stand-up meeting. It's literally 15 minutes. Everybody in the meeting will talk about what they're doing, right? And the 3 questions are, what did I do yesterday? What will I do today? And are there any issues or blockers in my way? Are there any impediments in my way? Okay, so these are the 3 main questions that we're talking about every day for 15 minutes in that meeting, just so that we can have that transparency and collaboration. Agile really preaches collaboration, team collaboration, transparency, so everybody knows exactly what everybody's doing, so that it doesn't impact the delivery of the product or the project that we're trying to deliver. So the third ceremony or event that we do in Scrum Agile environments is the sprint review. What are we doing here? We are reviewing. We're doing a presentation to the stakeholders. So what we're doing here is the team will present what they have accomplished in the last sprint, in the last 2 weeks during the sprint, and then they'll get feedback from the stakeholders. This is literally what is done in a sprint review. It's literally a presentation of what we've accomplished in the last 2 weeks to seek any feedback from the stakeholders. Is there anything you want to change? Is there anything you want to adjust? And usually in this meeting, if there's anything that the stakeholders want to change or adjust, the business analyst will capture and place it into the backlog so that we can then reprioritize and do another sprint planning to see if those changes can be moved onto the next sprint. That's literally what happens. But finally, the 4th meeting is the sprint retrospective. When you think about retro, you're going back, right? And this occurs after the sprint review demonstration. We can also call the sprint review a demo. I think I've experienced what we call a demo as well. But the right term is sprint review, okay? So don't let me confuse you. But anyway, the 4th meeting is the sprint retrospective, which occurs after the sprint review and before the next sprint planning. So I think the best time to do this one is on the Friday. And this sprint retrospective, it kind of relates to the daily stand-up, only that this one is done at the end of the sprint as opposed to done every day. It's an opportunity for the team to reflect on the past sprint, and then identify opportunities for improvement to be implemented in the next sprint. So again, what are we thinking about here in the sprint retrospective? We're thinking about what has gone well in our last sprint. What did we do well? What didn't we do well? And how can we improve it so it doesn't impact our future sprint? So that's why I said it kind of relates to the daily stand-up, as in, what did I do yesterday? What am I doing today? What issues are blockers? So don't mix them up. Sprint retro, we're thinking back. What did we do last sprint? What did we do well? What didn't work well? And how can we work better as a team on the next sprint? As always, I like to give real world examples. So let's think about an example where we are developing a new website. What are we going to do here? We have our sprint planning meeting. This is where we decide to focus on, for example, creating the homepage and the contact form page in our sprint planning. Depending on what is in our backlog, we can select certain epics, certain user stories, the homepage epic and the contact form epic. What are we going to deliver in that next week? What can we pick out from that backlog so that we can deliver in our next 2-week sprint? And then during the daily stand-up meeting, obviously we've created our sprint for the next 2 weeks, our sprint backlog. What happens on the daily Scrum or stand-up meeting is that the developer, for instance, might share what they have accomplished with regards to the homepage layout yesterday. Maybe they've done some homepage layout. I'll say something like, well, yesterday I worked on the homepage layout and I completed it. Today I'm going to work on the contact form and I need help with the design of the contact form. I need somebody to provide me a design so that I can create that, right? So that's what a developer, for instance, can talk about. Now, in the sprint review, when the team has, or the developers have completed the homepage and the contact form page, what they are doing here is now doing a presentation to show the stakeholders, okay, this is how the contact form page looks like. This is what happens when you click this, and when you click that, that's what happens. And then the stakeholder can say, oh, I want this heading on the left side. It doesn't look good on the left side. Let's put it on the right side. And they just have that communication during that presentation. And finally, the sprint retrospective, the team might discuss, again, how can we improve our design process so that we can avoid any future blockers for our next sprint. So that wraps up the overview of the Agile ceremonies. Please remember that these ceremonies, they're not just meetings, they're opportunities for the team to collaborate, to plan and to improve, and to really deliver that value that the product is offering for whatever the project is, right? For in our example, the website. So that's it for today's video. In the next video, we're going to be exploring Agile artifacts, these documents that are produced within the Agile Scrum environment. As always, I hope you've enjoyed today's content, exploring Agile. Once we've concluded the Agile artifact, we will look at a real life Agile project. I'm excited about sharing that with you. So please, if you don't want to miss out on this, hit the like button, share the video. You never know who it might help. Click the notification bell so that when I upload these videos, you're updated and you don't miss out, right? I hope that these videos are valuable for you. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you in my next one. Peace.